Hey guys, my name's Kieran and I also studied geography when I was at high school. Today we want to take a look at how we can get an achieved in the NCEA3 Natural Processes exam. Now this exam is essay based, which can be a little bit daunting, but it's reassuring to know that there are actually a limited number of questions you could be asked. So let's take a look at what questions you might be asked. Firstly, you could be asked to look at the spatial or temporal variation between two processes. Now this is how they vary across geographic space or across time. Next, you might be asked to describe the interaction of processes and how these form landforms. Next, you might be asked to describe how human actions impact on your natural processes and what are the outcomes of these. Finally, you could be asked about the distribution of landforms or about the distribution of processes in your geographic environment. Now, these are just examples that I've come across in looking at past exams, but they seem to be reoccurring. Now when we look at the blank pages of essays, it can freak a lot of people out, but the key thing to remember is not to panic, because once we break down the essay into a list of points, it's a lot less stressful and we can see the criteria for getting achieved. Let's take a look at that now. Firstly, you want to mention the size and extent of your environment. Now this is a handy 3 sentences or so that you can memorise before the exam. So here we want to mention our named environment, and we want to include a few facts and figures that show how big it is and how far it extends across New Zealand. You may also be asked to mark this on a map, so it's quite useful to look at this beforehand. Next, we need to talk about our named processes. Note that it says processes, which is plural, so we need to talk about 2 different processes. We want to describe these in a bit of detail as well. Now, it's important for Achieve to mention specific evidence within our essay. Now this is the case study material that you've learnt throughout the course, like our facts and figures. A handy rule of thumb is to mention 3 or more points about your geographic environment using this specific evidence. We also want to include diagrams. Diagrams are very handy, but you want to make sure they're relevant to what you're talking about, or you won't get any credit for it. Let's have a look at how we can combine this into an essay. We can use the handy acronym PEAL for this. P stands for point. This is our opening statement, which includes our named environment and our 2 named processes we want to talk about. Next, we want to explain these 2 natural processes in a bit of detail. The second E stands for example. This is where we include our specific evidence. Remember, at least 3 points. Finally, we want to link it all back together into the essay question. Basically, you're just rewording the question you've been given, but including your natural environment and natural processes. Cool, so we want to name our environment and describe the size, name our processes and describe them, include specific information throughout it, and include some diagrams. So have a crack at the achieved lists of questions in Education Perfect. Once you feel confident with these, move on and check out the merit video. Good luck!